when I do something, I always believe it's going to work. I have that mindset of no matter what, I'm going to make it work. I have a feeling you are like that too. Is that true?
Well, that is exactly true. Well, first of all, I don't believe that you just come up with things in your mind ad hoc. I mean, when things come to you, I don't know what it is, but they're there for a reason. And they're not there just to be sitting and parked. They're there to be acted on. So I mean, that's exactly how it is. I get an idea. It just cannot just linger. I got to do something with it. And that's the thing I think that makes a difference between people, those that move on with ideas and those that just keep the ideas. And they're just that, they're ideas, they're not realized ideas. And so I do the different. I mean, so I have so many things, I mean, we can talk about that. There were just simple ideas that I just went crazy on them and I did them. Some worked, some didn't, some they're still pending. And I just park them literally. If I don't produce them right away, they just get some traction and then at least I get them ready, right?
So, welcome back to the Professional Rule Breaker podcast. I am so excited that you are here today because we have an amazing show today. So, I have a guest that is a seasoned sales executive. He's a leader, an entrepreneur. He's the owner of 5 companies. And he's also the founder, host, and talk show moderator of iHealth Radio and the iHealth channel. So I would like to welcome my friend, Hurricane Hicham John Elanmati.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. So Hurricane is in the house. I'm so excited to have you. So, there's something that I don't know about you. I want to know, where did the name Hurricane come from?
Okay, that's an easy one. So as you've managed to actually pronounce my name correctly, it is a difficult one. It takes a few takes.
Yeah, I only call him Hurricane.
Yeah, I mean, Hurricane is good, but I had to select a name that actually was catchier and less complicated than my personal. I mean, it's just difficult for most people, and and it has a history, and it's a very simple one. I mean, you mentioned seasoned sales and leadership and stuff. That's been most of my career in New York and the New York market. And then there was a little of a time that I spent in Philadelphia in a plant there. So as I transited there, the pace was a little off, compared to what I was used to. I mean, at least I was moving too fast. And so people were literally referring to me like, here comes Hurricane. Hicham is the first name. So H. Here comes Hurricane Hicham, or some people actually did refer like Hurricane Hishi or he, so that's kind of like how it started. So, and from that point, that as I was in that company, I started talking about maybe doing a podcast for them, but they declined that idea. And there was a little bit of a story where one of the SVPs, I was the VP of sales and Medicare sales and operations, and this person was SVP of marketing. Anyways, there was an opportunity for me to go to a show to do a radio snap, for like one of the employees had a religious talk show, and they wanted us to do a promo there. And so I assigned someone to go as opposed to me, like one of my reps, which I do believe that representatives do better than executives because they do that every day. I'm sorry, but that's how I see it. I mean,
I'm not disputing that.
You elevate, right? You become less and less connected with your presentation in terms, I mean, yeah, I can do the big piece, but really the intricate, business stuff, the daily or the benefits and things like that, they're the more experts. So I selected the best, person to be there. So I was criticized for not going myself. And I was even challenged, like, well, maybe because you can do it. And I'm like, oh, no, you didn't go there. I could do this. I can do a lot more than that. And actually, that's what I started my own thing. And just to prove, to the world that, if you challenge, well, not to the world, but I don't have to prove anything to anyone, but really, I wanted that message to be like, that was really, just tacky for you even to think about it. That was it. But really, the name came from there. Hurricane, was like it was Hurricane or the Tasmanian Devil.
I was going to say, oh my gosh, so my husband used to call me the Tasmanian Devil for the early part of our marriage, but we're digressing a bit there. But I always thought your name Hurricane came because you do all these things, right? You're
Well, that's
like a
really it.
whirlwind, right? And you can literally you can just accomplish anything, So I always thought that's kind of where it came from.
It is because in essence, in the company, I was just doing too many things and going crazy. So and that was like, oh my god, because like we're like working too many projects at the same times and just doing things, and it was not the standard, I guess pace. So you can imagine when you like somebody is coming in and just like a bull in China, store or potential, destroying everything or like going crazy. You don't get liked too much when you do that, but that was just my nature, and that's it. So some liked it, some didn't. I would say.
It's interesting because I think we're very similar in something, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Because when I do something, I always believe it's going to work. I have that mindset of no matter what, I'm going to make it work. I have a feeling you are like that too. Is that
Oh,
true?
that is exactly true. Well, first of all, I don't believe that you just come up with things in your mind ad hoc. I
Mm.
mean, when things come to you, I don't know what it is, but they're there for a reason. And they're not there just to be sitting and parked. They're there to be acted on. And so and that's exactly how it is. I get an idea, it just cannot just linger. I got to do something with it. And that's the thing I think that makes a difference between people, those that move on with ideas and those that just keep the ideas. And they're just that, they're ideas, they're not realized ideas. And so I do the different. I mean, so I have so many things. I mean, we could talk about that. They were just simple ideas that I just went crazy on them and I did them. Some worked, some didn't, some they're still pending. And I just park them literally. If I don't produce them right away, they just get some traction and then at least I get them ready, right? And that's it. So, and I don't lose anything. If for every idea that you work on, you will learn a lot of things, and those things can be applied to anything else, and everything else. So it's just that. But you're right. We are very similar. I get something in my mind. It's just let's do it. And there is no. I don't think about all the bad things that can happen or whether it's not going to work or not. I know it's going to work. You can make anything work. It's just how long and how much and whether you have the stamina to do it. That's it. And you don't give up on it. That's it.
That's right. You're relentless. You're relentless. I have goosebumps actually from what you're saying. But you said something interesting. You park it, right? You work on something. If it's not like firing off at the moment, you park it. I think that's an interesting concept. And the reason I say that is I think sometimes when you do that, because I think the brain is really interesting, right? So you have this really great idea, you started putting things together for it, and then you park it. And then what happens is your brain starts, working almost like in the background, right? You know, and it starts giving you ideas and all these little pieces start to fall into place. Don't you think?
Oh, I believe so. I mean, that's exactly what happens. I mean, one small idea, and then it just keeps evolving and just kind of like branching out. It's like a little tree, right? It's a seed, and then you just get branched out, and those branches just keep going and growing, and they take over the whole scene, right? And that's exactly what's going on. I mean, and everyone. I mean, you mentioned few things about the business, whatever. But and we'll talk more on those. But really, they were all like small ideas that sparked one day. I'm like, oh, all right, and then we can expand from here. We can expand that, and that's exactly what happened. And as we go further on the show, you'll find out exactly what happened. Exactly that piece. It was just one piece, and then it just evolved, and I can't bring it back. It's just gonna keep going, and that's all there is. And I'm okay with it. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I met through the whole like media end of it. So you kind of mentioned, about the doing that interview early on. Is that kind of what sparked all of this? Or was it something else?
No, so that was just I have this thing. If you tell me that I can't do things, I will prove you that I can't do things. Because
Yep.
here's the thing, I do believe that everyone watching and listening right now, whatever they want to do, they can do. There is no limits to what we can do and what our brain can perceive and can actually take on. The question is whether we have the will and or we have. But sometimes you get that trigger, and I've always been, someone says you can't do it. I'm going to just show you that it can be done. And not only going to do it, I'm going to do it good and do it right and do it better. And so that's kind of like the concept. So the idea of things happening, in my mind, that's always going to be the show itself. No, it was a catalyst for it, right? But I've always wanted to do that. As a matter of fact, a year before that, I was talking to my kids during the beginning of COVID, or just before COVID. They were watching the Ace Family. I don't know if on YouTube,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, these guys are making money. They're doing good. And so I watched the content. I'm like, okay, but it's just fun stuff. It's entertainment. Okay. But
Right,
I don't
right.
see anything that is educational for that matter. Right. So I'm like, if they can do that stuff and be entertaining, and I'm giving an example, kudos to them. I mean, from this platform, I mean, they did well. I mean, and why not? Listen, people have different creativity, right? And that's good. There's an audience for that. And, so I said, well, we don't have, something more educational. And in my world, I've been in the healthcare, specifically the insurance piece, and more specifically the sales and business development side of it. But you're part of all of it, right? And over 20 plus 29 years, I've learned that there's not enough information out there. And frankly, I always say this: we have the weather channel, but we don't have the health channel. And so as that evolved in my back, drop, and then the challenge came in about me not being able to be on the show, which by the way, that person didn't realize that I've been on TV since I was a kid. I was on a show, overseas. I was in French TV. I was in Spanish TV. I was like in Telemundo in the 90s. And
So
so
you're an actor too, as well?
no, I'm
Or
not an actor. No, I was just doing like interviews like this, like or being
oh, okay.
interviewed.
Okay.
The first scene I had, I was on stage for a karate demo. I've been in martial arts, so I was doing a demo. That was my first in I guess in a program, and I was, I think, 10 years old or something, and so that was the first, wow, you're on stage in the studio, lights and everything, cameras. And then the next one was actually I was at Disney, was working in Disney World when I came to the States, and I was interviewed by the second channel in France, for just a program that they did for Epcot.
Okay.
And then as I started in the insurance, I was I think a sales manager at the time, and they wanted someone to talk about the benefits of a particular Medicaid program in New York. And I do speak Spanish, so I was called upon, and I was actually at the studio, had a live discussion about the program, how the benefits work, and so on and so forth. So that person didn't know that I did all that. Now, talking about movies, I was in movie sets, as a back, as an extra. uh, but I've seen that, actually, believe it or not, that as an extra, I've learned a lot from just that piece. Now that I'm in the media, I can relate to all that. How the
Yeah.
directors work, and how they set up their stage, and the sets and the casting and all this stuff. So again, small experiences, they all actually build up eventually. You don't know where that takes you. So that's the story.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely. I
lot of
love how
stuff
you said the
behind it.
small experiences build up because you
Yep.
don't know, like all the experiences that you've had in your life, whether they're good or they're bad, they make you who you are, right? And it helps builds your character, builds your experience, like what you said. All these experiences, being on camera has helped you do things later.
It did. And by the way, this is everything. I mean, when we work in general in life, right? You're doing things. You always are learning stuff. Now, that's the thing. It's, are you taking information and filtering and always analyzing it, or you just going through you? I think that's the main difference. I analyze everything. There is no events in my life that come through that I'm not always looking at, like, what's the pros, what's the cons, how is it working, is it good, what I'm learning from it. It has to be something that I'll take from it, extract it. And even the worst events in my life, there's a positive. That's the other thing about me. I am so positive. I hate negativity. The word hate is not really my favorite term, but I really despise actually, negativity. I cannot stand it, because there's no room for it. And in every situation, whatever negative that we think it is, there is a positive in it. So that you can just extract that and life becomes better for you. We can suffer just by being on that side, or we can just do better by just thriving on the positive side. Same thing. Again, it's mindset, right? So these are concepts that probably not difficult for people to comprehend. I mean, we all know about them. Everybody who's watching, listening probably knows what a mindset is, and positive and negative. It's just how do we place ourselves into it, and that's how it is. So I've learned everything, since I was a kid, or from my surroundings, and I make the best of whatever comes my way. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love, love, love what you said because I totally agree with you about the whole mindset as well too. Whether it's good or bad, When something bad happens in your life, you can let it bury you or you can use it to make you stronger, right? And I love that positivity, and it's almost like you have a joy about everything that is that you do. So
Everything is an opportunity. So,
everything's an
so
opportunity. Even failure is an opportunity.
well, I don't actually refer to failure as failure. I
It's
just call it
learning.
another. It's a learning experience. It's another
Yeah.
way to figure out things, how not to do them, and how to do them better.
That's right. That's right.
That's it.
That's the thing
Uh,
is you have to learn from it because you
yeah.
can't keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and think, oh, if I do it one more time, something different's going to happen. No, if you do the exact same thing over again, it's not, it's not going to change it. You have to learn from it and make some sort of like pivot. And
Plenty
you
of
might fail
opportunities.
again, but then you pivot again. You keep on pivoting until you make it work.
But
But I like something else that you said because you were like, until um it happens, until you make it work. So it's being relentless. And I can see that in you. So how can people, because a lot of people stop, right? When they have some sort of failure, something doesn't go right, their sales aren't right, whatever. How do you explain to people that if you keep on going, good things are going to happen?
that's an excellent question, and it's not a very difficult secret, to operate there. It's the difference is really whether people have the ability to endure,
Mhm.
resilience, determination, and whether they really visualize
Mhm.
where they want to be. I think that's really the bigger difference, because for me, all I do is, first of all, there's no coming back, there's no turning back. Now, are there circumstances
Yeah,
where you can actually stop something? Yeah, I mean, there are things that don't work out. I mean, you give them all the best. I mean, there's different scenarios, right? You have to go left, right. You do all the different, like a chess, game. You got to make all the moves, and then eventually it's checkmate, right? So there is that. But the fact is, you don't know checkmate until you get to the final move, and that could take days, in a real game, right?
yeah,
So same concept in life, right? I mean, you follow your dream, your vision, your whatever it is that you start, but know that when you start, it's going to be a long journey. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Most people run quickly and they expect quick results, and that's when they give up because they lose hope. It's over. Oh, I can't do this. Or they'll run out of funding or whatever, and then that's the end. See, if I run out of funding, some of my ideas, they just need funding, literally. And since I don't have the ability to do it right now, they're still posed, but they're just posed, as I said. They're not, forgotten. They're not lost. I can literally just press a button, and it's there. It's just ready to roll, right? But that's the thing. I don't give up on them. I don't stop. I just keep going. And then as you go, you discover, man, there's, like, again, like a river, right? There's bumps in the way, there's mountains and stuff. You find your way around it. I always give the analogy of rivers, because they always find a way back, to the water, right? And they do that, right? And so nothing stops a river. Nothing should stop us. We have to flow nicely around things. Again, I mentioned martial arts, and one thing that I've learned is understanding the elements and working with the elements. I mean, like in our styles, we use, literally different things: the wind, the stone, the earth, elements, the air element, all different things. You move as needed. I mean, you can be fire, you can be water, you can be air, you can be, really rock. So you can have different ways to operate, and that's the thing. So you have to go with the flow and the motions. And again, if anyone swims, if you ever try to swim in the river, know that if you go in the wrong way, you're gonna drown. I mean, it's very
you're
simple. I
going to
mean,
go
there's
up.
always a
Yeah.
current
Mhm.
in a river. When I started, swimming, my dad put me to the test. This is true. He actually took me to a river once I learned, and we had to cross it.
Oh,
Literally,
okay.
it was that was my first test, swimming. So this river happens to be a very there's a huge, current. So he said, we want to go to that position right there. And so I had to figure out how to start the point, where to start to get to that point. Because if I start, like, let's say most people say, I want to cross over there, and they start here. Well, if I'm going this way and the current's going to take me further south, I'm going to wind up like maybe a mile south, or maybe a few, at least 100, 200 feet south. So you have to go up and then follow and that, believe it or not, that small concept is applicable in life and business and everything. you want you see where you're going. You have, maybe sometimes you have to go backwards, to actually go forward, right? You have to switch things around to make sure that you get to your destination, and then you have to flow. The minute you don't flow correctly, you're gonna get tired, and that's exactly when you drown. And in this analogy, you don't drown, you just basically give up and you lose everything that you've put in. And that's the other thing, there's no coming back. Now there are schools of thoughts out there that say you do sometimes have to, I guess, take your losses and move on. There's that concept, right? Just stop when you can't. Now, I still can use that concept, at certain events or certain, things in my life, but those are the few and far in between. They're not really my thing. So when I start something, it's really, let's go for it. I mean, this whole concept of the media started with one small idea, one little challenge, and then evolved. And I still remember the day when I talked to my wife and say, like, you think I can do this? I even said that to her. Now I know I can do it, but shall I do
But
it?
you had a moment. You had a
I,
moment of
it,
self-doubt,
you had a
which is the
moment.
biggest sabotager of all thing of everything. If you
We
have
get that.
self-doubt. Yeah. Yeah.
I think everybody gets that. Like,
Yeah.
so it was like, because I know once I start, there's no coming back. It's over. You got to go in, and you just, because you can't. And once you're in, you're in. You're just gonna keep going. Somehow, somewhere, it's gonna get there. Now you learn on the go. That's the other thing. I mean, I didn't know everything about what I'm doing. Now I learn on the go. So I'm learning at the same time, and it's all happening at the same time, as opposed to, like, some people's like, well, I want to learn it all, then I'll have all the foundation, I'll get started. Well, you could do that, but the best way to do things and be good at them is by working on them, by learning them. And yes, I mean, so you learn the basics, but you still work and tweak. I didn't have to have everything picture perfect, as they say. I wanted to have things, and then I tweaked. You and I talked about my little
Mm-hmm.
background, right? It's small ideas. I learned that over, like, if you look at my first video, it sucked. I mean, it's
I think
just a simple.
everybody's first video sucked.
Yeah,
I
but
know
that's my
mine
point.
did, but we keep going, right?
Well, I'm making a joke about it. Didn't I mean, the content was there, but, like, the effects were not there. The sound maybe was not
Mm-hmm.
there, and a lot of things. Maybe even my own, just being flow and
Being who
having
you
a
are.
comfort,
Yeah.
and comfort
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit like, you can get sometimes on your tone. You can hear someone that's hesitating when they talk.
Mm-hmm.
You and I in sales, we know when you do a pitch that is good and a pitch that is not good.
Yeah.
Or where you're like, you're not comfortable in the discussion. Your tone, your voice is different, is distorted, right? So you know that, but that doesn't stop people. That shouldn't stop us. That should just be a motivator. Oh, I got to do better. I got to do better. I
Mm-hmm.
got to do better. And that's it. And that's the thing. You cannot stop. I think that's my first rule of anything. Just keep going, but keep tweaking. What am I missing? What can I do more? What can I do stuff? Things that I can do, at least for me. Now, there are things that cost money. And now you have to prioritize. Where do I put my dollars correctly here? Do I need this today, or maybe I can improve in a couple of years? And that's the thing. Put yourself a timeline, like stage one, phase one, phase two. I have actually that determined goal. Like, I know where I need to be in 5 years. I know when I need to be in 10 years. And I know what this is. For example, we're talking in the media, right? This is your show. And it's, for me, it's my media as well. And one thing in this particular platform is, really, I wanted to create something that is different than the standard media. I mean, media is great. There's a lot of stuff to it. There's entertainment, news, and all the stuff. But there's no resources. There's no educational piece of it. And maybe you find some programming here. I wanted a network that has that. And also, it's a network that's for almost everybody, because in the standard media, you have to be selected, for the most part, only a few, and the elite would probably make to those platforms, right? The average, and there's a lot more, smart people out there and people with resources, and a lot of people that they just, nobody knows about them, right? So the idea is that they have a voice, they have a network, and that's really what this evolved into. And it's really to educate, enlighten, inspire, and motivate. And that's kind of like what drives me. The mission itself is important. If you have no mission, maybe you're not gonna, stick to it. You build a
You
mission. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you do. No, you stick to you bring up so many good points. There was something I want to dwell on a little bit, because you said um that you're always looking to see, like, how can you do things better or different or whatever.
Mm.
I think the key, and I think this is something that you do, is that whether let's say something's really successful, you probably still look at it and go, huh, can I make it better? Can I do something a little different? Can I just tweak it a little bit better or a little bit more so it becomes even better? So, and I think that's really the key to like really big success. Because obviously when there's a failure or a mistake or whatever, you think, okay, what could I have done different? What can I do, better? How could I have changed that? Right. But
Well,
when you look at it and it's already a success and you keep on tweaking it to make it even better, I think things can really, really explode there as well.
can. And I'll give you a good example. And then everybody can relate to this. We all love houses, right? And I
Mm.
can promise anyone watching and listening, right? I don't care what your dream house is, you'll always find another house that's better.
Yeah. And then you're
I
always
drive.
probably fixing up your house,
Well, yeah,
making
well, exactly.
improvements and different things, right? No
Or,
matter how
or
great it is.
that's right. And you're gonna keep changing it, and you can literally take any house and just take it apart and put it back again and change the whole outlook of it and how it looks and sounds and feels. The inside, the interior, the decor, even the shape of the house can change over time if you wanted. And so I drive around and I see some beautiful homes, and it's like, oh, this one's beautiful, this one is better, this one's better, and but there's still this. It's same in the concept is the same. There's just a basic house, and it has, but you can always improve on that. And your own house, you can do this. And that's why you find people changing their furniture, changing their decor, changing the stuff, adding a piece, an extension, whatever. The backyard sometimes it gets reconstructed a different way. Now we have a whole different set. I mean, I'm just giving an example. It doesn't matter even if it's an apartment. You keep changing things in the apartment, right? So, and that's the thing. It's whatever it is. And by the way, in the business world, same thing. You get to top now. You like what can we venture out from this business?
Right. Rather than
You
just
go to
resting your laurels, sitting there at the top, because eventually you're going to have a competitor or you're going to stagnate. Something's going to happen. The business is going to go away. So you always have to constantly be improving in some
and,
shape or
and
form.
that's correct. But remember also, you mentioned competition. That's always going to be there. So,
Mhm.
so in essence, if you're in any type of business, there's gonna be similar, people doing similar stuff or companies doing similar stuff. And so now, how do we differentiate? As a matter, competition is welcome because you love that. Some you learn from their mistakes, or some you learn from their successes.
Mhm.
And you just pick, from here and there. It's not necessarily copying. You just see what's working, what's not, and then you put your own flavor into it. You know, it doesn't have to be exactly. I'm going to take a line from them and I use it, but I can use a different, spin on things in my own way, and I give it my own flavor. And that's the thing. Kathy and Hurricane are two different people. They have different signatures. We do the same business technically, but yours is yours, mine is mine. And that's the other thing. You have to be open to the idea that you're not unique in a way, but you are unique. because there is no one else but you. There's only
Right.
one me, there's only one you. Anyone watching, listening, there's only you. So people can copy from you, but they're never going to have your flavor.
Right.
I mean,
And they're never going to have your background, your stories, any of that. Even
exactly.
if they copy your stories,
They can't.
they're not going to be the same. They're just not.
Listen,
Not.
at best, they can even be your voice, right? Everybody's got a. I mean, we have signatures. I mean, like different DNA. We have different things
Mhm.
that are specific to us individually. And even in the business world, you have those touches. I mean, artists, right? You look at art, right? A nice little portrait and some sort of a beautiful piece of work, right? And no one can duplicate that one. They can do close, they can mimic it, but you will look at side by side. You get an expert, they're gonna find a difference. I mean, unless it's a digital copy, you take a picture of it, and
Right.
it's still not
Exactly.
going to be the same because you can tell a digital from the original, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
Absolutely.
so people have to just know that whatever you do, it's going to be unique, but you got to do it in your own way, in your own signature. And like I make a joke, uh, if as my company grows, for example, you don't have to wear a suit in my company. Just an example.
That's
You wear a
great.
t-shirt. You wear a t-shirt. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
Not
great.
that suits are. If you want to wear a suit and a tux and be spruced up, that's cool. But to me, it's not as important. That just not. I've worn my share of suits over the years, and especially in sales, you have to like suit up and everything. To me, it's cool to have. If you want to look good, that's fine. If you that's your thing, your signature, that's fine. But do your own thing. You see, be comfortable. it's really your performance. That's just like, I'm more of a Google concept, person, like, that open mind, in terms of stuff. Some people are very strict in the way they want. That's just an example of how I see things, right? And there's many of those,
But I think you
if
have to be you, because when you're
that's it.
not you, your potential customer is going to know in a heartbeat. Like they're going to know. Like you're being fake. You're not authentic. They're going to be like, "Oh, this person's here to sell me something." Or like right away they feel it. So that brings me to the end of part one of my interview with Hurricane H. I mean, he is really something. His name really matches how he is, just a hurricane full of really great advice and ideas. And I have to say, there was a point that we both talked about that I just want to make sure that you heard, because it's really important that everything is an opportunity. So, everyone that's listening out there, I want you to think about that for a second, that everything is an opportunity. Just think about it. If something is not going your way, or that you fail at something, it's still an opportunity. There's an opportunity to turn things around. There's an opportunity to do things different. And sometimes you're just given either a really great idea, that maybe you just thought of, or something happens. And that thing that happens can be your greatest opportunity out there. So take it and, go ahead. Like what I always say, you can make a big difference. It's like throwing a stone into a stream and watching it ripple. And that one thing can be the thing that can be the stone that causes that ripple. So I want to thank you for joining us today for part one of my interview with my friend, Hurricane H. And be sure to subscribe, because you don't want to miss part two, because part two is really full of some really great, interesting, and impactful things for you to make a difference in your life. Remember, we're all about creating impact and creating income. So thanks again for joining.